a listener for any length of time, you know kind of what we're about. And if you have the app, well, if you don't have the app, download the app. But if you have the app and you've been logging your notes diligently, you know what that can do for you as far as, you know, gaining insight and creating the timeline and gaining a little perspective. And I think what's really cool is that a lot of adolescents find it useful. I know school counselors have told me that they are giving it to their kids, especially in middle school and high school, because it's private and it's protected and it's secured. I mean, usually phones these days, they have some sort of code that you have to log in, if not a fingerprint. And it's so much more secure than just the diary under your bed that, you know, your big brother can take and read through or whatever, or your mom can steal it and, like, you know, leverage your own thoughts against you, and some families that, you know, aren't super healthy. So I think that the Noggin Notes on its premise is very, very cool, and I think we have helped a bunch of people. And I have some stories that I could share if we wanted to, and I'll keep the names private on it, obviously. But I wanted to ask you, now that you are where you are, and you and I go back, right, a couple of years now, and I've heard some of the stories, and we've had some very intimate conversations. You're healthier now. You're super happy, and I can even hear it in your voice. You're just, I mean, you just sound overjoyed.
Oh man,
you're where you never thought you'd be, and yet simultaneously, I think you are where you expected to be. But what did you have in mind for this, and where do you see it going next?
So before I get into that, I just want to start with saying that I never thought I'd be where I am today. I'm in a place, I'm still far from, say, pure enlightenment of joy and the happiest I can be. I know there's always another level, there's always more place and space for growth, but I'm very much content on who I've become and through the process and the growth. Because this journey that I started through Noggin Notes, through meeting you, it started, the catalyst that brought this on was, as they said, a breakup can make you or break you.
Right.
And I went through a breakup that to me it felt catastrophic. I had never felt so helpless and hopeless in my life. Everything I did was just the wrong thing, and I was just burning everything around me. And the length of this, of what happened in the past with me, it just dragged on, and I was just confused. And the weird part was that this was all happening within me while I was busy building Noggin Notes with Tom. So I was creating something amazing to help people out there, but I would come home by myself and fall into this dark hole of shame, guilt, hate, pain, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And to a point, what I was going through fueled me to make sure Noggin Notes was a success, and that if someone was somehow going through the same thing, maybe it would help them. Yeah. And it has been an incredible journey, and getting people to messages and emails, when people message and say, hey, thank you for this. I've been using it. It's been helping a lot. It's soul shaking, and you shed a tear. And I've shed a hell lot of tears the past 3 years.
I think your testimony right there, I think probably in and of itself helps a lot of people, because there's such a raw genuineness in what you've shared, because what you've basically said is you've created what we in our field call a dialectic. It's a both and it's a bringing together of what people often perceive as an either or. You can either be productive and creative and healthy and happy and successful, or you can drown in despair and never surface and fall into a pit of depression. And And what you've said is that both can coexist simultaneously and create something beautiful out of that pain. And and I think people need to hear that when they're going through pain, they can continue moving forward, one foot in front of the other, one inch at a time. And even if it seems like they're going 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 3 steps forward and 5 steps back, or whatever it may be, the pace is irrelevant so long as they're moving forward. And you did that in your darkest times, in your darkest moments. You were fueled, to use your words, you were fueled by the hurt and the loss and the sorrow and the grief, and you let that become your pride and joy, which is what we're doing now, which is sharing this with people. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that, because I think a lot of people are going to identify with it. I certainly do. I've had my own dark spells, and yet through them I didn't quit. And I think that's really the underlying message there, is like, just keep moving. Just keep moving. And you don't have to measure it with any sort of measuring stick. You'll see the measurements when you're through it. And the when is very arbitrary. For some people it's some length of time, and for other people it's a different length of time. And we don't need to compare. So I just, man, I wish you and I were here right now, because I would literally high five you, and you'd hear the through the thing. So I'll just high five myself again.
Do a digital high five.
Yeah, because I'm really proud of you for going through that.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah. So,
and at the same time, like, working with you and because when I started this, Tom and I didn't know zip about mental health, and we were researching. So I felt like I was in university learning about, because every day I would find article, case study, and at the same time, weirdly enough, it was sort of my own partial therapy, because I was learning about parts of me that I had no idea was happening, because I didn't know I struggled with anxiety or depression until I started reading articles and talking to you. And then I would have flashbacks of past events, childhood events. And then I'd have to dig deep. I'm like, whoa, my man, this is some deep pain. This had nothing to do with either that situation. What's coming out of me right now is stuff that's happened 20, 15 years ago when I was a kid, when I was in school, and I haven't processed that, and I haven't dealt with that. All I've been doing was bearing it and bearing it and bearing it, and just pretending to be something I was not. Like, a little, for the listeners and for Jake, I don't know if I've gone through this with you. So I come from a family in South Africa. I would say I was lucky to be born in a well-off family. And I went to private school. My dad had a great job. My mom was a teacher. And my parents worked their butt off to make sure that I got a great education. If some of you don't know the history of South Africa, the apartheid time, I was born in 86. So white and black people were starting to still mix, but not really. So there was still that racism in the country.
And you're black, for people who don't know you. Sifiso, for people who don't know, you're black.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I'm black.
and hopefully when you put this together, you'll have a picture of you, because you need to come out from behind the scenes and share your face with everybody. But so when you're talking about apartheid and white versus black and this cultural dynamic, they need to understand that you're a black man, or a black baby, born in South Africa during this very contentious time. So I just want to point that out for everybody. Go on with the story, because I'm very fascinated. I'm listening very carefully.
Yes, so I'm a black South African, and I grew up in a time where white and black people were not very accustomed. Should I say accustomed to each other? They knew about each other, but they never mixed. So schools were separate, shopping separate, but I was still very young, so I didn't experience the full-on apartheid. That part had already gone past, and by the time I was old enough to go to school, black kids were allowed to go to white schools, but still some white schools were still reluctant of accepting black kids. So the first school I went to, there were 3 to 4 black kids in the class, and the rest was white. And because my dad really wanted me to excel in life, and he provided me every opportunity to be the best person I can be. So my speaking of English was really good. So growing up, that was very difficult for me to connect with black people because some black kids didn't have the opportunity to go to private school, to have educated, to have resources for them to become great as they could be. So growing up, a lot of kids were jealous of me, so I didn't fit in with the black kids. And white kids, well, basically, I'm not white, I'm black. I couldn't fit in with the white kids. So I always, for a long time in my life as a child, through primary school, through high school, through university, I never found a place with people. I always felt that I didn't belong anywhere. And I never had understood it, and I never had anyone to explain what I was going through and how to handle these thoughts and emotions, which caused me to pretend a lot, to create this persona to fit in with certain groups. And doing that caused me a lot of issues in school. I was bullied in primary school, and in high school, I decided to create this jock-like persona so that I could be cool and stop being bullied, and became this arrogant douchebag in high school into university because I thought this is what girls liked, because I never got a girlfriend because I was this chubby, short kid. And all these incidents are just building on into where I become an adult and just affecting my work life, affecting my relationship with my friends and family. And still at this time, university, I'm busy working. I haven't dealt with any of this pain, and not even dealing with some of my childhood pain with incidents that happened when I was a kid, which I've only recently brought out up to surface, spoke to my parents about it, spoke to somebody about it, and journaling. And journaling has been such a breakthrough for myself because I've written things that I've never spoken to about for years, and just rereading them and letting them flow out has just like released this block of emptiness and filled in with like a sigh of relief.
That's amazing. I think what you're talking to there is, or at least speaking toward, is the idea that we can ignore things and bottle them up, but at some point they're going to come out. And yeah. I've said repeatedly in various settings that your emotions in your limbic system of your brain will come out. You cannot suppress them. We think we can because we've been told that you can just, stuff things down and ignore them and put on a face and all that stuff you just described. But they come out in different ways. Yours came out in this persona that you didn't like and it wasn't authentic. And some people's emotions come out in violence. Some come out in substance abuse. Some come out in psychosis. Some come out in depressive disorders or anxiety or whatever it is. But they will come out because we cannot stop emoting. The limbic system keeps working because the environment keeps throwing stimuli at us, and we have to keep responding to it. And if we don't acknowledge that stuff when it happens, in the fullness that it confronts us, we're doomed to lots of things, all the way up to physiological ailments. I mean, some of you may be listening saying, I've got these mystery ailments that my doctors can't figure out. They got a name for it. Maybe it's called fibromyalgia, or maybe it's called tennis elbow, or maybe it's called chronic back pain, whatever it is. And maybe we even have drugs to treat it. but we don't know the origin. And for me,
Yeah.
I think and I've read enough research and I've talked to enough people that